friend.
Hello, friend.
Hi.
Where have you been this week?
I've been in Dorset, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, hanging out with some sheep.
Hanging out with the sheep.
I saw 2 deer.
2 deer.
Davina Attenborough over here. Don't worry about it.
Sheep, deers.
Yeah.
And the other one. Yeah. So really like the highlight of British wildlife then.
Yeah,
like
I mean, you could say.
Yeah. What else do we have? A badger?
A badger, yeah, a mole.
Have you ever seen a mole?
No. What are you saying anyway?
I'm chilling. What animals did I see? I saw a few crows this week.
Oh, nice.
And then I made loads of AI stuff. So I'm so excited to share them with you.
Welcome to Lantyn Labs.
Welcome to Lantyn Labs.
2 friends talking about AI, building a business together, building their own careers, experimenting, vibe coding the hell out of their life and making brand new products every week.
Every single week. And honestly, it's been another thrilling week in the AI world. So I'm really excited to share some news, which I'm actually just thinking like, well, you know when you just say something.
How much are you allowed to? Because I really want to ask you a question about something that you just said.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, I think it's relevant for everyone. Character consistency.
Character consistency. Let's just like get right
Shall
to
we
it.
just go straight into the news? Because I
okay.
think this is something that people have struggled with loads. You know me, I just dipped my toe in making AI films. You're actually professional and you're getting paid for it and it's really exciting. Oh my God, I met someone at a country fair that was like gassed about your work.
No way.
Yeah, so funny.
What?
Yeah, I know. I know. Hilarious.
Yeah, just me and the bumpkins, bro. Like just me, I'm out there.
You're big in the bumpkin scene.
Big in the pumpkin scene.
But it's interesting. I think what people struggle with is trying to put themselves in their videos. And, I've been experimenting with doing it as the start frame on Midjourney.
Yeah.
I've been using this thing called Face Swap, which is actually really good. I'm going to share that soon. But, I'm seeing this. Obviously, I'm in the AI algorithm, not as much as you, but I'm seeing Higglesfield. I'm seeing something else. And like, are you using these things? What products are you using to get character consistency? Have you managed to do that yet?
Well, this week was really interesting because I've been making quite a few videos recently. And one of the things that like keeps cropping back up is like, can we put the artist in the video? Which, if you're making a video with a camera, of course, you can literally just film the person. But when you try to put a person into an AI film, you suddenly run into loads of problems because the way that the AI is constructed from the ground up doesn't allow it to sort of like have... It's not easy for it to be consistent. So that's why you have to use things like Face Swapper and stuff like that. So it's been really interesting. Got this really interesting briefing this week. And it was like, okay, we need not one person to be consistent. We need 3 people to be consistent throughout this film. And I was like... how would I even achieve that? Like, like you said, like Higgsfield does it. There's lots of different, like, I think every single major platform now is allowing some way of like adding in a person. One of my favorites recently was Minimax. Minimax is super easy. You just put one photo of the person you want to be in the video and off you go. But a couple of nights ago, I managed to sort of like get 3 people consistently in lots of different shots. I mean, there were like 3 people like sat around a table and like, they're playing with fireworks, they're playing sparklers, they're laughing at something, but all their faces look the same. And I was like, I shared it and it got like it didn't do very well on my Instagram because I was like, I wanted to sort of like go like, well, this looks like a really boring video. It's probably one of the most consequential videos like on my feed at the minute that you can have 3 people do the same stuff. They're wearing the same clothes. They look essentially the same if you squint your eyes a little bit. But it's going to be a game changer because now I guess we're going to like move into a space where like people can be in their AI films. Like, what does that look like? Like, are we finally going to be able to like watch a film and like put ourselves in the film? Well,
yeah, it feels like it's happening just this week, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because even when you said to me, I like had some briefers in, and even I know that that's changed in the past few days. It's mad. Yeah.
And I guess my sort of like question on that is like, okay, so if you imagine you could be in any film and you could watch it. So say we're like watching like, AI Prime TV or something and you're like, I'm going to be in this film. Which film would you be in? Because I was just thinking that like while I was saying it, I was like, what film would be better if I was in it? And who would I put in as the baddie? We probably don't need to work on that bit.
Well, just for jokes, just for like visual fun, I'd like to be in a modern version of Fantasia.
I love that so much.
Quite fun.
I love that so much. I was going to say The Hobbit. I would love to be like the fucking little dwarf man on The Hobbit and I can be like, just have that big
Well, why don't you make it of you in The Hobbit?
So I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm short.
Yeah, you're not short.
I can do like the tallest hobbit.
No, yeah, I'd say you're normal to tall. Oh my God. Remember?
I love that we're talking about
Anyway.
on
No,
podcast.
yeah, remember the guy that I fancied for a bit that we called a normal size king? Shout out to him.
Shout out all of the normal size.
All of them.
Completely normal size kings.
Normal size kings out there.
Yeah,
One love to all of you.
One love to all of them.
Yeah.
So hit me. So what's been your favourite news this week? I mean, I know you're on hold.
Yeah.
So like,
well, I wasn't. It was just it was kind of an accidental work retreat. I just ended up house sitting in a house. I went there for a wedding and I was working from there. And thank you so much for joining me on my talk yesterday.
Oh my God, you were so great.
That was exciting.
You were so great. It's honestly, it's so interesting to watch someone that you work so closely with, like, go and perform. And like, it was like watching your performance, and like, the whole way through I was like, you're really good.
Oh, thanks.
And I tried not to hit the clap button too much, but like at the end I was like,
thanks, man. It's exciting because I don't want to say too much, but it was for a very big technology company.
It was a very, very big technology company.
Very big one. And
if we added one more do you think people would figure out which one it was?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, maybe there'd be a few more, I reckon.
Yeah. So it's exciting, and it's interesting that we are here vibe coding our life away, and you never know who's listening.
You never know who's listening.
And yeah, I'm glad that you thought that, because I felt in some ways like maybe I was just repeating some of the stuff that I said, but I thought it was also interesting. Some great minds from a technology company. It was really interesting to hear their questions as well. Actually. Yeah.
And I think I said it before. Like one of my favorite things about watching you present is how you filled Q&A. Like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone ask you a question that you haven't just been like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and just like absolutely just like it just rolls off you, and I'm like,
well, it's good mental workout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
And you have to. And I'm like, well, I have to say something.
You have to say something.
So I'm like, how can I shoehorn this completely irrelevant point that makes me sound clever into this question that's unrelated? Yeah.
It was just brilliant. It's brilliant. And I think what one of my favorite parts was in this room full of very, very technologically advanced human beings and stuff that were really at the top of their game, the way that you talk about it, the humanizing way, it always completely just it releases everyone's the tension, and not just sort of releases. It was so amazing at the end, and everyone's like, God, we'd never heard anyone talk about AI in this optimistic human way, and I'm like, amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And that's
it's also interesting how much of an appetite there is to use AI to try and be better.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's something that I don't think we realised we were getting into that when we started this podcast, but just naturally we've started making products to help us in that everyday life. And it's like, people really want that.
Yeah.
They don't want AI to be productive. Although, like I said on the talk, I kind of hate that word productive, but when you reframe it as the AI is helping you get stuff done so you have more time to focus on what matters, and also when you focus productivity as almost self-esteem, because I think actually someone who's getting stuff done can give you self-esteem, then it's kind of a different thing.
I was just thinking when you said that, I was like, I feel there's probably one of my favourite esteemable acts is moving things down the Trello board.
Oh yeah, that's so nice.
Move that card to the next one. Like, nice one, Omar.
I'm going to move so many things on the Trello board today. You're not even ready. This afternoon it's going to be like bam, 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 bam. Because like I said, because I'm still working on my dream decoder thing, and so therefore I'm still down the Carl Jung hole, and I've really been thinking about that quote. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I like that. I hope that was in the quote. That Carl Jung was like, dun, dun, dun.
I really hope he did. Yeah.
Oh, I want, if I ever get quoted for something, I want that to be at the end. But can you please correct that? Because I did go dun, dun, dun. Amazing.
No, but as ever, there's loads of great news. I've got millions of products to test out. But I think just from a gossip point of view, there's this book called Careless People.
Oh my God.
Have you heard of it?
No.
I just started listening to it, so I don't know the full thing yet. But it's the most highest ranking Meta official to ever blow the whistle about what it's like working at Meta. Full disclosure, I have worked there myself.
Yeah,
but just we've both worked there, so I guess we've kind of got a vested interest.
Yeah.
Obviously they're trying to shut her down. She managed to keep it a secret that the book was getting released until the day of. It's sold out. She makes some very wild claims. She basically claims.
Would you allegedly tell us some of the allegedly things?
She says that Mark Zuckerberg was saying that he was going to make customized surveillance software for the Chinese government, and that they wrote a pros and cons list about whether they should do it or not. And in the cons list, it was this could lead to people getting tortured and death. And then they changed that document to be like, oh, this will be supporting a country that fundamentally don't believe in human rights.
Wow.
And then she claims that Mark Zuckerberg lied about it under oath when he went to Congress. Yeah. And that's just some of the stuff. She claims Sheryl Sandberg tried to get in bed with her on a private jet. So I'm just here for it. It's just fascinating.
You know what? I absolutely love tech gossip because normally it's like, oh my God, you know, such and such has got some more GPUs. I forget about that. I'm into this.
Yeah. No, and
allegedly.
Also, I love it when it comes from a female memoir point of view. There was one a few years ago as well. Someone in Google. Oh, there was the woman that one of the Google founders, Sergey Brin, had an affair with. That was really good Vanity Fair article. So it's just it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's so many NDAs.
Yeah.
And you like when you join a tech company, you have to do all that privacy training and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do if you see a USB on the table? And you know, so it's interesting the people that do speak out.
Yeah. And you know, when you think about it in that sort of like context, like that this industry is like the most valuable, and you know, like, I mean, you look at like the stocks, like, you know, tech companies are the most valuable companies. Like, you know, this is like, and also I guess like they are valuable companies, and also we know, like, you know, the people who run them. Like, I don't know anyone who runs a mining company. I don't know the beef that's happening within mining. Like, I'm sure they get up to all sorts of, not just mining, other places as well. But it's really interesting because it's in the sort of like public sphere as well. Like, you know, when we think about like, like all of the news that we end up hearing about the guy who owns X and stuff, like we're constantly hearing news, and like they are a part of like.
Also, it's interesting because something like Google doesn't so much rely on the founders. I feel like businesses that rely on the founders seem to be a bit more difficult.
Yeah. I guess like, you know, when like Sergey and Larry, like, you know, I think didn't they sort of like sell Google to Alphabet, and now Alphabet owns Google, and then they own Alphabet, and they're like, we're not the CEOs of Google anymore, bro.
Yeah.
Honest. Like,
okay.
You're doing that thing with your eyes, Larry.
Yeah. So that was quite a fun bit of goss, really.
Yeah.
And otherwise, did you see that video I shared? Well, oh my God, I loved the NAN automation thing that you shared from the guy.
I really need to know his name because he is the best automation guy on the planet. Like, did you follow it like down the rabbit hole?
I commented on all the stuff, got sent all the links.
Yeah. Did you? Good.
But it was like oh my God, can you give the listeners one of the examples? Because it was such a tech bro thing. It was like, I'll take you to the casino and then activate.
Yeah. Okay, so like we'll put a link in the bio. Link in the comments and stuff. But there's a guy who is essentially, it's a satire. Well, I think it's a satire on people who are like going, we're making bots, we're making NAN automations. Like, if you go on YouTube, if you are unfortunate to be in that part of the algorithm, you'll see that you know, most people who are like talking about agents are trying to teach you how to make them, rather than actually showing you how they're like useful in real life. This guy, I want to say, I can't remember his name anyway. This guy is an absolute genius. He records content in exactly the same way and then walks you through his NAN automations. But his automations are for like completely different things. So not to like make more marketing. It's like how to, like, you know, there's one that he made that's called the Rizbot, and it basically sort of like is an automation to sort of like fix his dating life, and then like, you know, does stuff like research and come up with new topics and stuff. And he's like, and then I'm always on rotation, and then if that happens, that goes into the Google spreadsheet, and then one gets taken off the roster and another gets added. I was like, what? And then the other one they did the other day, the one that you saw, was, I think it was like how to be a tech bro, but like it's stuff like, you know, like, yeah, like you said, like it's like everything from like, you know, like how to find a place to live, and then like, you know, how to get to the casino, and then how not to care about stuff, and how to like maximize shareholder value for you, you know, like it's just mad that he's actually done that. But then he's like talking about it in the landscape of NAN, and I'm like, this is some of the best meme work I've seen. Like it's so good. And then he doesn't just sort of stop at like making a piece of content. He then like has, you know, like hit the sort of, you know, like the sort of thing where you go like, comment one word below, and then we'll send you like a link and stuff. You comment one word below, and then he sends you an NAN workflow. I haven't actually used them, but I just love I was like so happy to give my email just for like, you know,
It's smart
It's so smart.
because it's funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no one having, there's not enough people having fun in this space.
There's
you know?
not. And actually, it's quite, as we talk about it, I think it's quite inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make an automation that's completely ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And you think like, you know, it is that like, that's why I love it. It's so satirical when you sort of like, it's a reflection back on our sort of like weird like relationship with productivity, because you're right, like it's really good to be productive and it's such an esteemable act to like finish something. But what happens when you fall into like hyper productivity where you're like being productive without any purpose? You know, like does productivity need purpose to sort of like make sense? I know that's like really philosophical, but like it just sort of like made me go like, you know, that's why I love his thing, because it's like there isn't a purpose and that's the satire.
But also, you know, serious art is made from serious play. So once you find it more fun, suddenly you'll find these energy reserves to get stuff done, you know. And having just done the Artist Way course, I did an AI enhanced version with a small group of people, you know, it was it's something I've been thinking about a lot, about how you feel about what you're doing. And I think a lot of what we do, actually, we make products for fun and then it becomes work.
Yeah.
And then we feel differently about it. So even stuff like our PDFs, if you haven't bought them, you should download them.
Oh my God, absolutely. And as a pack,
oh my God,
you're already on the winner.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do any better.
Like, will you be like the world's greatest prompt engineer?
Probably.
Yeah. Asterisks.
But like, it's just interesting, that nuance, isn't it? Like, you start something for fun, like we started this for fun, and there's times actually probably for the first time since we set up the business, it's probably, there was times in the last couple of weeks we were like, oh my God, this is getting a bit long.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's that nuance, isn't it? And the way that you feel about productivity. Like, you will sit in your bedroom and create videos until the early hours because you really want to. But if there's something that one doesn't want to do, it feels in your body, you actually feel like you don't want to.
So
absolutely. It's just interesting, that feeling about productivity.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
But yeah, isn't it really interesting? Like, I guess is there a difference between productivity and creativity, like creation?
Yeah.
Because you might be producing something, but are you creating it? Like,
well,
and is there? I mean, like, you know, it feels like there's, in my head there's a distinction, because like when I'm creating, it's like I feel like I'm in flow.
Yeah.
Like things are coming. I don't know what. Like, you know, even the thing I was telling you earlier about like figuring out how to put 3 people in the same video. Like, I wouldn't have just like naturally landed there. Someone suggested something, and I was like, oh, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
How could I creatively solve this instead of like going down into the forums or like going down into a route of exploration? It was like the solution presents itself. So I think for me, always feels like creativity has like a feeling of like divine energy. I don't know how to say it other than that.
Well, it brings me nicely onto my project, actually, that I made this week. I haven't quite finished it, but oh my God, me and Jason Derulo, really been getting to know each other.
I'm so into you and Jason right now.
I've been using ChatGPT for a lot more practical things, and I feel like I found its edges lately, and it's kind of frustrating. But so basically, I finished this Artist Way course, and the quote that made me think about what you just said was, basically, I'm making these soul cards. I've developed a very distinct style doing this course, and I have been making products, you know, like fairly regularly throughout it, that enhance the idea of like unblocking people's creativity. And for the final one, I wanted to gather all my favorite quotes from all the research that I've done, put them onto cards using some of the images that I've created, and then make an AI soul card generator. And one of the quotes that I was just working on was, art isn't thinking something up, it's getting something down. So that's on one of the cards. So to make that, it's been a journey. I'm just done the MVP, which is just a customized GPT, but it uses JSON files. So I made the images on Midjourney. I put the quotes in them on Canva. I uploaded them to Google Drive. Then I got ChatGPT to help me make a JSON file that could, with using all the URLs, I could call them. Then I did some prompting on the customized GPT, and then so you can pick a card at random and it will just show up. That's fine. For the next one, I actually want to experiment trying to make a WhatsApp bot to do it.
There we go. That's amazing.
That's a whole day's work.
That's a whole day's work, yeah.
And I'm going to do it on Twilio.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Honestly, I love that. Like, I mean, we should probably like go back from like the idea, because I think the idea is so amazing. And, you know, like what an interesting way of like then connecting that with like, I was going to say Derulo prompting, and I don't mean that. I mean,
you do.
Yeah,
you
I
mean,
do.
Yeah.
Derulo prompting.
Yeah.
He should own that. Anyway, but like, you know, I love that, because like you're taking this like really interesting way of like, you know, showing like, you know, allowing humans to have vision inside themselves, using this like wonderful way of like, you know, like Jason prompting to then like create a brand new way of like sorry, create a brand new way of like, you know, understanding yourself. So there's something really magic in that.
Have you got any ideas for, because I've thought, you know, we're both quite into tarot cards, and I've thought loads about doing AI tarot cards, and I always thought no, because you want to tangibly touch something. But when it was another idea of the soul cards, I thought, okay, maybe I can do that with AI, because really the only point of these cards is to inspire thought from the person. It's not meant to have any kind of prediction. Obviously, I started with customized GPT because it's the quickest way, just to get the MVP out the door. But have you got any other advice for how I might be able to build it?
No, honestly, I think WhatsApp and Twilio is going to be great. Twilio is a service that like allows you to have phone numbers and then connect that with various services, and then you can like connect your Twilio number to a WhatsApp bot, and then that bot can talk to other people, and then anyone can message it and stuff. So I think it's like super duper interesting. My suggestion might be, my experience with WhatsApp bots has been really, really really difficult. Like I don't really like them because it's been like I think you have to do things like 24-hour, like, you know, you have to basically sort of like continually say to the WhatsApp bot that you want it to be connected. So it just like made me think what about a Telegram bot?
That's what I was going to say, Telegram bot. Or, okay, what's the difference between a Telegram bot or just like a Replit?
Oh, well, I think if you imagine Replit would be probably the most accessible because it would just be a URL, right? Like it'd just be a link. A Telegram bot would require you to like get Telegram. And then you'd have to chat to Telegram. Like you'd have to talk to it. And,
I only use Telegram for one specific thing, so I don't really use it. And like my friends aren't really on it.
I don't think most people use it for that much.
Yeah.
I only use it for finding out football scores. So
really,
no, I don't.
Jokes.
No, I don't. I don't even like football. I don't even know what I said that.
Yeah. No, but I actually met a conspiracy theorist a few weeks ago who got all his news from Telegram. I was like, reverse.
yeah. Why are you moonwalking out of this room? That's so weird.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll just do a Replit.
Yeah,
you
look, honestly,
know what? Maybe I'll try with Lovable, because everyone's banging on about Lovable, aren't they?
Yeah. And apparently, like, I'm like so far down in like Replit now that I'm like, I don't want to like jump onto another platform, but Lovable seems to be a really, really popular choice with people. And, you know, there's so much you can do with it. So like, you know, I think it'd be really interesting to play around with that. And it really just like, I think, you know, it really made me think like, I guess like there's that thing that's been one of the sort of like topics of in the background of what we've been talking about. Like while we make stuff, one of the end parts is always the most difficult, which is designing. Like how do you like do the design part? Because like, if you're not a designer, it's not an easy task. And, you know, you've tried Fiverr and you've tried freelancers, and like, while that's a really good solution, it's not the right solution because you need that final push. And also you need to be able to iterate so much, right? And this is all really good. And like, you know, I was like, you know, the last year I've been like, how has no one made a AI that does really good design? Like design is mathematical, like, you know, everything from the grid system to like kerning, yada, yada, yada. It's all math. So surely a machine should be able to do it. And then last night, a company called GenSpark, they released an AI designer.
Oh, no way. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try it.
And it's like an agent. Yeah, you can literally say to it, like, make me a thing about whatever. Like, make me a flyer, and this is what I want you to say on the flyer. This is what I want it to look like.
Okay.
And then you just does it.
Also, because I know, like, with Midjourney, I get it really good when I give my references. So if there could be something like that. Yeah, because I was thinking about taking a course in design.
Well, I think you should, like, I've got to be honest, like, I think you have a really good knack for design, and you just need, like...
I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, but think about it, like, you know, like, if you did do that, maybe that would be the thing that would like push your work like to the next level.
Do like a YouTube course or something. Yeah.
Do a YouTube course. Yeah. Like, you know, have you ever like had a look at Udemy?
Oh no. Okay.
Udemy. When I first started making iOS apps, I basically just like followed tutorials on a Udemy, and I like, you know, if you sign, like, I think when I first signed up for it, there was this like really amazing thing you could do to it. You just sort of like go on Udemy, and instantly there'd be a clock and be like, you can get this course for £5 if you get it now. And I was like, I'm going to buy this right now. Yeah. And what was really nice about their iOS ones right at the beginning was you'd walk through like building an iOS app, but then they'd also just give you the files as well.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could just like take the
Udemy.
files and then like you could just rejig the files and stuff, which was great because I remember like, do you remember Flappy Bird? Yeah,
Yeah.
like a really old app, right? I really wanted to make Flappy Bird
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I really want to make an app and I really want it to be out as a part of my regular like work and stuff. So I was not very good at drawing, so I was like, I made the most minimalist version of Flappy Bird. It was a circle, and it was flying through squares. But dude, like honestly, even with the source code, I was like, I don't know where to put my pictures. I don't know which bit to change. But it was Udemy that basically took me all the way through it, and I was able to make it. And then went out, and it did terribly. So
Yeah.
worked.
Two things to pick up on this. I want to ask, while I've got you, because I haven't seen you for ages.
Yeah, no.
With the UX of my tarot card things,
Yeah.
I say I did just make it a replit. How do you think people should select one? Do you think people should say pick a number, or do you think it should get randomly generated?
I think it should get randomly generated, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting because when you were saying about tarot, like it's really weird that we both really love tarot. One of the things that like I made a film earlier this week, which I was like, I wonder if I could like get a character to pull a tarot card for me. So like it would just be like, you know, you go on like it's literally like a 10-second video as a person like shuffling a deck and then pulling out a card for you. So you would see a card, and I was like, if I could do that, and then you'd always get a random card. Wouldn't that be really interesting? Now, that was all really good, but it turns out the consistency issue comes back, and you're like, I don't know what this card is because it's like a weird hodgepodge. And you're like, also, it's not a card at all. Like, you know, like, so the tarot card is like completely not designed correctly. So, from a film perspective, it wasn't good. Then I tried it with VO3, which is really good. Like, you know, while it was not able to fully make the tarot cards look like tarot cards, it would like say something. It would say something about the card. Oh, look, the cards that you've just pulled means da 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 da. And it was really weird because I ran this experiment for like, but I'd say probably about like 3 hours, and generated quite a few videos. And almost 90% of the videos, which were I asked like specifically to pick a random card, it always picked the magician. I have like maybe like 100 videos of like, you know, the AI just like going, and we've picked the magician. And I was like, why does the AI? Why is the AI picking the magician?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Anyway, like I think it's really fun that you're doing this, and I think it's so interesting as a sort of like, you know, solving human things is one thing, but what about the esoteric part of ourselves? Like, what about the parts where we actually try to sort of have a bit more of a spiritual connection with the world around us, or to understand the world around us a little bit more? And how can AI do that?
Yeah, and it's like I said, I really think there's tangibility with tarot cards. But as you were talking, you know, the conversation we've had about thinking of the machine as a collaborator rather than telling it what to do. My frustrations was I actually thought about making some tarot stuff when I was at Meta, but it didn't feel like the intention was really there. But if you were going to make some kind of AI tarot, what about saying, invent a whole new kind rather than keep to the traditional? Because don't you feel like that's the only way that you would ever be able to think that it might have some realness or like affect you? Because if you just say pull a card and then it just pulls a random card, like you haven't touched it. But if you say I don't know, like this is how I'm feeling, like based on the tarot deck, like what kind of tarot card do you think?
I think that like if anyone's going to be able to prompt that, it's going to be you. And I would love to see that prompt. I don't want to see the prompt, but I would love to see it in action.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but okay, well that's interesting because that's where our capabilities come together. And actually that thing that I want to talk to you about, a friend of mine contacted me and she wants me to help her out with something, but it turns out it's actually image generation. It's not, it's AI image generation. It's not prompting really. And there's a difference, but actually that's where the prompt becomes so important, because I know about prompting words, but prompting images is a whole different ballgame, really.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like yesterday I was having a conversation with someone and we were talking about like, you know, the transition from like traditional ways of creating, and I was like, the one thought that always sticks in my head is like, I remember like the whole way through, like, you know, I used to be a copywriter in advertising, you know, I have very vividly that idea of like a word is worth 1,000 pictures. I was really reflecting on it, that actually now a picture is worth 1,000 words, but now I was like, it's the flip now. So it used to be a picture is worth 1,000 words, and now a word is worth 1,000 pictures, because with one word I can make an infinite amount of images. So isn't that sort of like power? Suddenly the shift of that power is super interesting, because like you said, like whether you're generating images, videos, text, apps, like all of the stuff, like, you know, because we're now in the age of multimodal AI. That means that I can say something and have multiple different outputs and stuff. And I always just like every time I think about that, I always just think about like Google's Gemini. Like I remember one day, I can't remember what we were talking about, but it just made me think, oh, I wonder what it'd be like. I wonder if like Gemini can make me a drum machine before the end of this conversation. And then it did. And I was like, wow, like, that sort of idea of like being able to like take words and then make stuff with them in the moment of inspiration is mind blowing to me.
Words as tools. Oh, and another thing before we move on is, did you see the thing that I shared about is our vibe coding products going to be terrible? Did you see that?
No,
and
tell
then
me.
people are comparing vibe coding and AI to the dotcom boom. And they're basically saying, vibe coding, it relies on a house of cards of APIs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. And like, once one of them goes, then the whole thing falls. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Isn't that like just like the regular internet though?
Isn't it?
Like,
Yeah.
like, well, what if an API fails? Then you're like, what if Cloudflare fails? Then all the internet goes like it does every now and then. Like,
yeah.
I think the thing with vibe coding that I always like come back to, like one of the things I was trying to make this week was, so I'm making loads of films right now. It's really interesting to make those films. The final part of like this experiment or like the making films is always that it goes to a human for like the final sort of like edit to happen. So I've been really thinking about like, is there a new way for me to use AI to edit a film to music that I haven't seen before? Like, how could I do that? Could I make the music affect its own edit? And I've been trying to sort of like build this system where I could like drop a track in and it would like listen to the track and then it would like make edits according to what it felt from the track. And you're like, well, hold on a minute, like an AI doesn't have feelings. I'm like, well, I know it doesn't have feelings, but if you tell it has feelings, it's like, I have feelings now.
It can pretend to have feelings very well.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And I asked it to like pretend to like go like, you are like, you need to have feelings about this. And like, dude, like, it's not worked at all, by the way, because I can't figure it out. It's really annoying me. But it's really brilliant to sort of like even start thinking that something like that can exist. And just sort of like playing around with this, like going, well, hold on a minute. People have like edited films for the longest time. So like now, how do I sort of like start making stuff that pushes the boundaries of other parts of what we're making? And, I was like talking to someone the other day and we were talking about like doing a film project together for like the launch of like, like a launch of like a new like capsule collection or whatever. And it was really interesting because I was like, the limitations of like, he's like, oh, we can maybe just like make a film, maybe we can make 2 films. And I was like, bro, we're in a time of like, we can make a micro drama about this product. We don't have to stop at like going, we'll just make 1 film because that's the convention. That's a previous convention. So how do we create new? So it's been really fascinating making this sort of like work this week. And most of my week has just basically been spent knee deep in like in figuring out film stuff. And like, everything from like going, how do I tell a story of a space that if you see one of my films, you'll feel that if you know the name of that. So one of the films I'm making this week is with this absolutely brilliant artist, and we were talking, we did this really amazing like process where first I sent him off a whole bunch of questions, and he's just like, about his like, it was basically like an interview, like, tell us about your life, your musical inspirations, blah, 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 places that really stand out to you. And then I did a phone call with him, and then he told me loads of other stuff. And then I sort of like took a transcript of that, took the questions, and then we smashed those together to then go, what are the most poignant things in our conversation that if a viewer saw this, they'd be like, that's amazing. This video knows something about me. Like those sort of like Easter eggs, like how do we get to them? And honestly, like one of the things that like popped out was the name of a road. And like in conversation with the artist, so like he was saying like, if anyone sees the sign of this road, they'll know exactly what happened on that road. Like it's one of those, like it's an iconic road in this space where people would have like illegal raves and stuff. So being able to pull stuff like that has just been like that's a whole new kind of filmmaking.
I love it. And actually, I wanted to ask you about that. It's so interesting to use transcripts with the person to generate videos.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like you kind of like the assumption would be like, oh, we would just take what that man said, what that person said, or what the questions were in the machine, and then we smash them together. But hold on a minute, there's a third character in this story, and that's the AI. So again, I can say to the AI, like, you are like, whether I want it to sort of like be a investigative journalist or whether I want it to be super creative, like, give me the maddest interpretations of what we've talked about, like there is still complete flexibility there, which, reminds me that like, the AI isn't the sort of like, where the conception is that like, oh, AI is going to do everything for us. We'll just tell it to make a film and it will just do it. And I'm like, that's literally not how it works.
Is it fair to say, from a prompting point of view, you've got your style,
Yeah.
right? And then you've got the transcript with them and what they want, and then you've got the machine. So it's actually 3 people involved, right?
Yeah. And the orchestration of all of that comes from me, because I asked the questions. I got the, like, you know, even when I'm like talking, I'm like interviewing the person live, like it's me asking those questions. So then it's almost like my assistant, or like the AI is my collaborative assistant, is like going, hey man, like what about if we did this? What about if we did this? And I'm like, you're a genius. Let's totally do that. That doesn't even make sense, bro. And like trying to sort of like push and pull around a creative idea with machines has just been fascinating, you know?
Are you making an extra AI to help with the AI filmmaking?
Yeah. And it's like it's hilarious. Like,
Really?
Yeah. Like I think, you know, one of the things I like always do, like whenever I'm like starting a new project, I'll spin up a few like different AIs, but then give them personalities. Like, who do I want on my team? Like, I want an outlier, a wild card, or always disagree with me, or I want someone that's like, you know, that they'll go off and, but they really know about this particular kind of cinema. Like, they're really versed in that cinema, so they'll go off and look at it in this way. So when all of these AIs come back with their ideas, like it comes back to my sort of like curation of them, or the way that I knit them all together, the same way, like, you know, like any creative does.
Cool. Because I remember talking to you about how you were using the transcript as a prompt for the video, which I thought was brilliant. But when you say you make all these AI almost critics, how are you making them?
Oh no, that's like that. Like, so when I first started making them was when there was a really old like open. Well, I think it was like basically an open source like SDK from OpenAI called Swarms. That then later became agents and stuff. And it was really good because basically you sort of like have this long list, and you can just like write all of the different. You can just write the personalities of all of these different AIs, or like all of these different like, you know, conversational AIs and stuff. And then you can instruct them. So you could say to them, like, you know, you're really into like French New Wave, you're really into jungle, you're really into like, you know, census data, you're really into this. Here's all the tools that you have access to. You can all browse the internet if you want. You can all like chat to each other if you want. Off
So
you go.
then how do you decide on the final product? If what I understand, you're getting each one of those agents to make you a different film.
No. They'll go and do research. They'll come up with ideas, and then they'll talk to the AI that like writes, you know, like that will suggest prompts and stuff. And then I would just sit there with them, and like you know, I then look at them. Like the prompts don't just go to the machine. Like I'm like, this is my film, so like, you know, I get the information from my team, and then I will action it how I choose. So whether it's like, you know, I'm like, no, actually that doesn't work, or oh, actually hold on, this does work. Because one of the really interesting things that it did, and I'm like really busting as I talk about this, is like basically like it figured out that this particular like there's a quarry in this part of the world where lots of illegal raves happen. I don't know that because I'm not from there, and I had no idea about that. So when I asked the machine and I gave it the sort of like, you know, the sort of like slang thing that like the name of this place that people called it, it went and researched it. It went and found out the geographical location. Then it went and like figured out that like, you know, I was basically like asking it to like find like show me what an illegal party looks like here. It even got down to the detail of people who set up like, you know, like big illegal raves generally always like wear high vis. Like, you know, the people wearing high vis are the people who are like, you know, a part of the organization. It had people in high vis, and I was like, how would you know this? Like, they aren't ravers. Like, I know like people who wear high vis and rave, like they look different. And like it's now like going, there's organizational people. It was in a quarry. It was flying through like one van into another van, and I was like, wow, like fascinating.
Dude, this is cutting edge shit. This is like, who else is doing this to make films right now? You know what I would love to see from you is like a director's cut with commentary after. I think it's really important because like, who the hell is not only are you, you know what I mean, you've got the taste and you have the you know how to manipulate the machine very well, but then you're also using AI to help with the process. And I don't know anybody else. I haven't heard about anybody else doing that. People are still just getting gassed about the tools. That's all that I see is the tools. I don't see anyone talking about the process like this.
Like, honestly, and the crazy thing is like, you know, that the AI tools the AI doesn't just stop at making the film. Like, I also like have been building, honestly, this is another like absolute like fucking rabbit hole, right? So one of the things that like, if you imagine we're all using the same AIs, to make films. So that means that it's basically sort of like really difficult for us to our work to look different, because how do we do that? We all prompt the same machine. The machine is all learned from the same data set. It's going to spit out the same stuff. Now, one of my early solutions for this, which I absolutely still use, is like I was like taking like an AI to basically write special like VFX software. So like it would be like, I'd be like, I want I'll give you an example. When mobile phones first came out and they had cameras on them, they were really, really bad, really bad cameras. Like there is a list online that has the entire spec of each one of these cameras and stuff, right? So I was like, hold on a minute. If I want to create that look, then could I take that information and then make a special effect that I could like drop into Premiere, After Effects, DaVinci, even have as a standalone, and have that effect on my films? Oh, I can. That's so interesting. So, my advice is like, if you're thinking about making AI films, don't just stop at like the final film. It's like, what are you using to affect it, right? So I managed to even like make, by the end of this like experiment, I made a special effects box that I could put a film in, and then say, okay, I want you to affect it, but I want the effect to be controlled by some other random data source. I was like basically like making the effect bigger or smaller depending on, like, I obviously always like to attach things to the weather. So the weather was affecting the special effects. And I was like, I don't know if anyone's done this before.
I love it.
I don't even know if it's useful or not, because the weather doesn't change enough. But it's like an interesting
It just
thing.
comes back to critical thinking, the most important skill to develop, because otherwise all your AI is looking the same unless you're thinking critically and thinking outside the box. Also, I know we said it before, and you know what I was thinking about on the drive back? Do you remember when you were going to make a wiki of the AI films?
Oh my God, yeah.
And then that was like really hard to do.
It was like the most complicated thing to do. Like, bro, that is not an easy task.
No, because nobody's documenting this process. And it's like, I know when you go on your Instagram, you see the finished product, but the process is so interesting.
Yeah, I think like what you said earlier about like the director's cut, because I remember when we were in Lisbon, and I did like you record like you interviewed me for like a half hour, like like talking about that.
Where is that,
bro? Do you remember why that couldn't go out? Because like we filmed it, and like 2 days later, someone got sued.
Oh yeah, but did anyone get sued?
No, not me. But like like it got taken down for long enough that I couldn't talk about it. So it was like maybe like 3 months I couldn't speak about it anymore.
And that's when we got to the point of if you're getting sued, you're doing something right.
Which is still one of my favorite things you've ever said to me. And I was like, bro, I feel that you're trying to sort of like just cut your way up. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true.
It's actually very Kabbalah, thinking I'm really into Kabbalah. It's and you say like when something bad happens, what a pleasure. But it's actually true, and that's only going to happen in this big wide world. And the same thing happened with something. No, like not the same thing, but in terms of legality, you got asked to do a job and you almost got the job, and then they were like, oh no, actually the legal department says that you can't do it if you're using this. So I feel like that's only going to happen more and more. But really, but now that film is out, and it was ages ago, why don't you upload that stuff? Because that was good stuff.
Yeah. Because I was thinking like, I really believe like, one of the things that we see, one of my favorite things about watching, I mean, like, like one of my favorite things about DVDs were that you'd get a director's commentary. So you could like actually hear someone talking about like why they made this choice, or stuff that happened on set. And I really think like, especially when these next round of films are out, I'm definitely going to do a director's like
also,
commentary.
you could just have the video behind you and be talking about it. And actually, I saw my friend outside the station the other day, and he didn't understand what my future visuals were and my older person. And I thought, I'm just going to do a cutout of me talking about it. And like, you could just do that.
Yeah.
But I know you don't like being on camera as much. Even though we do it all the time.
We literally do it every week.
All the time. Like, but it's just so interesting.
I think what I remember when we were talking about that video, I was like, okay, what I want to do is like literally sit there and go and play it through once, and then we're now going to go through it frame by frame. We're like, okay, so in this frame, the really interesting thing to look out for is why the rhino is wearing a white lab coat.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Even things like that, like, how do you put a rhino in a lab coat? Who knows? How like, and it's like those things are like, when you say like you're just in your bedroom, I'm like literally I'm just in there trying to figure out like these wild things, and it's been really interesting, like understanding like, or trying to even articulate like, how does your creative process work, and how do machines help that? And now like when I think back to the start of my career, where like a creative department would move as fast as a brief would come in, and then it would take ages to come up with an idea, then you'd have to like talk to people about like trying to get some money to make it, and then potentially a client would buy it, and then it would be watered down, and this sort of like, you sort of like get on this like path of being a creative, and you're like, feels more like being like Sisyphus. I'm like pushing this rock up the hill and it just like keeps coming back down and just keep doing it. And now with the machine, I'm like, well, finally able to like have creative vision and create exactly what I want
quickly as possible.
as quickly as possible without the sort of like rigmarole of like going, oh, but like we need to slow down. Like we don't. Creativity can finally move fast.
You know what? That's a really good answer to. You know, the question I got asked in my talk yesterday of like, what's the positives for creatives? And I said democratizing access, but it's also the speed that you can realize your vision and like the autonomy over the vision that you can have.
Exactly. That's really that I love that it is autonomy of your creative vision and of your creative process, because nobody needs to sort of like wedge in. And now, like when I think about like, you know, before you'd sort of like end up like being like, oh God, how am I going to navigate one really difficult person in this thing to convince them about a thing? And it would be like really sort of like, you know, Machiavellian the way that you try to sort of like move these pieces around. And now I'm like, now I have to talk to a machine and be like, bro, can you please change those shoes? Please don't make them white. Come on. And then back in the JSON prompt, change it. And that's the rigmarole now.
The negotiation is very different.
Completely different. And while like people like, you know, myself included, like, you know, AI doesn't listen to you, I'm like, yeah, the negotiation is completely different. And how do you negotiate with something that you don't even want? Like, I don't negotiate with the machine anymore. I'm like, show me what you think about this.
Also, I was talking to a friend yesterday who works in the film industry, and he was saying like he feels like the film industry is one of the most sort of like backstabbing in terms of getting stuff done. Obviously, I don't really work in the film industry, but loads of my friends do. And I was like, and it's interesting just hearing you talk about that, because, you know, there's a lot of deals that need to be done to get the creative thing over the line. And yeah, AI just eradicates that, and it eradicates someone saying they're going to do something and then not following through. And
and you know, like what does it mean? And the thing is, like you just like really made me think about something like, is AI the destruction of nepotism then? Because like, you know, like the film industry, you know, has the creative industry in general has been a very nepotistic space for a really long time. So by democratizing the access, like, and also democratizing, you know, like, oh, can you pull a favor? Oh, you're a really famous like director, and oh, you're such and such's son, daughter, blah blah blah. Of course, we'll do that favor for you. And now I'm like, well, I don't need to call up for a favor anymore. I can like just get it done.
Although avocado,
I love an avocado.
It's still only people that can afford the technology. Like, we are lucky, and that's what I said to the people in Apple yesterday. And also now I can afford all these subscriptions and like the tokens and stuff. But I remember when I was on SB, I was on this YouTube channel called SB TV, and we had this behind the scenes documentary on Channel 4, and I wasn't making any money. I think I was on my uni, like, not EMA, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And everybody else had Macs, and I had a netbook, and I used to get comments like, why has the presenter got like a really bad laptop? And it's like, you know, even like people who had camcorders, like Jamal, had more advantage, or like if you have a good computer, you can do more.
You can.
So it's still, and I think, you know, that was the roots in a way of like what we started doing, of like, it's really important that like everybody gets skilled kind of like to the same level.
Absolutely.
But, and I also think there will be a level of like, it will always kind of depend on your network, because even though it might democratizing skills, it's still like, oh, I've got a good relationship with this person, so that you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know, I think like that's all really, really important, and that's like a part of it. I guess like, you know, it's the weighting of it's going to be different, right? Like when we think about like now people get in touch with, you know, photographers, creatives, filmmakers get work because of their sort of like cultural resonance. Now someone who can use, I mean, honestly, like I would also say like, while we sort of like, we transitioned from a time where we were using, and we were making AI videos in a thing called Animate Diff, and it was really difficult because it wasn't the same as regular video, or even before that, Disco Diffusion, Deforum, it was never as good as like, you know, regular film. Then all of these brilliant new AIs come out, Kling, VO, Runway, and they become super, super brilliant, but they're all behind paywalls and you have to have money to use them and stuff. And then companies like ByteDance and Tencent come out and just drop things like WAN 2.2. And honestly, like, while it does take a lot longer to render something in any of these, like, you know, WAN does take a little while, but the open source community is so great at like taking these really big models and making them really fast that I was like using one of the open source video models, and I was like, I never expected that we would be able to make something so brilliantly photographic, and, you know, almost like, it's like Kling 1.6 easy, if that makes sense to anyone. It was really good AI that would make really great moving images. Now you can make that for free at home if you've just got a GPU. So while the barrier to entry is like, of course, still severe because you have to have a good PC, it's not as severe as like going, I have to pay any number of companies, like, you know, more than like, I mean, £200 per subscription
No,
almost.
that's a good point.
You know,
and it's only getting cheaper, actually.
it's only getting cheaper.
And I'm paying for too many subscriptions right now.
Honestly,
Yeah.
honestly, I think like maybe that could be a challenge for next week. Could we make an AI that gets rid of our subscriptions that we don't need, or like just monitors and be like, bro, you do not need a OpenAI Plus account. You're not doing any research on anything.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, that brings me to something else I wanted to say before we go. I think that we've both been testing out like ways to help with AI, ways to use AI to help with our schedule, and actually AI assistants. I think personally, I'm in the position I really need an assistant, but to be totally honest, I'm not sure I can afford it, or I don't have the confidence to pay for one right now. So I've been trying to think about how I can get AI to do that. We've been using this thing called Fixer. It's okay. I'm going to experiment with Motion, but I don't need something that just like goes through my email. I also need something that like understands me and like helps me like schedule my to-do list. So like carves out time to test out new products, carves out time to actually make the stuff, you know, because on like a personal level, and it is somewhat related to the subscriptions, because that's also like really important admin. Like, yeah, it'd be great if I could get an AI to like remind me not to pay for certain things, but it's like really like what I'm doing with my job right now, and we're both kind of doing, like, we're not only entrepreneurs running a business, you know, doing we have a great business advisor that said to us, are you prepared to pick up the phones and clean the toilets of your business? And there has been times when it feels like we're doing this, you know, we're fixing websites, but also like from my perspective, I'm a stylist because I'm finding outfits to wear for my talks, and that sounds futile, but it's not. It's like really important. I'm a deck designer because I'm like, you know, but I'm also the researcher and the journalist that's like going out to do it. I'm also my admin person. So I'm like, sometimes even though I've got an agent, I'm booking flights, booking travel, blah, blah, blah. Plus I'm my social media manager. So I'm like coming up with things, and I'm making content, and I'm the copywriter for the podcast and writing all the stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's like loads of jobs.
You know what? I like, it really is. And I think it was something we were discussing just before I went to go and get some matcha. And it was this amazing thing that I read a little while ago, like, well, maybe just a day ago, where because like on ChatGPT, you can basically connect it up to like all of your like Google, like you Drive, your calendar, blah, blah, blah. This guy was saying that what he's stopped doing now is like reading emails during the day, finishes the evening, puts kids to bed, and then instructs ChatGPT to like go back through all of his emails because it's connected to his Gmail, give a one line summary of each one of those emails, and then write a draft for each one as well. And it does that automatically. So it just makes me wonder, because the one critical piece of what you're saying is like a machine that knows you. And who knows you better than ChatGPT? Like, you know, I think if you could potentially sort of like start connecting like ChatGPT to your Google Cal, to your Google Drive, to your Google Mail, and then you start speaking to it like an assistant, it might be worth just trying.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that, because Fixer, it's in my email, my calendar, and it's kind of handy. It like wrote an email for me the other day just scheduling something, but that's I've reached the limitations.
Yeah. And I like, honestly, like I the thing I really love about Fixer is that it's like introduce labels and everything. I'm like, okay, pink, I need to do that now. Oh, FYI, I don't even know what that means. Like, you know, like, so it's visually really helped, but I think like what would be great is like taking it to the next level.
Sorry. Yes, and I had another point. What do you think about agentic assistants? So I'm going to try Motion, but what about like NAN Notion templates, hookups? Like, do you think they're helpful?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I still have yet to see one of those like actually being proficiently used. Like you know, the thing is like you can link so many things up. Like you could do that on Zapier years ago.
Yeah.
Has that changed everyone's lives? I can't think of it.
I want someone using it that I can actually see to like persuade me.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And like, you know, I would say if you're going to go like down the NAN route, I would also explore Zapier and make dotcom as well. Like if you want to build integrations and systems for yourself, it might be worth looking at, because NAN is just like a different way. It's like a node-based version of Zapier, which is also node-based in one way as well.
Okay, well, let's stay on ChatGPT for now, just because it's more familiar.
Exactly. Exactly. Vibes.
Okay, well, let's go get some stuff done then.
Let's do that. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Bye.